So the first project I want to talk about today is my Imagination Quilt. This is a crochet project by Meema Makes. And as you well know by now, if you've been watching me at all, I am using an advent for it, along with some yarn from Knit Picks. I finished my last 3 squares, sort of. My name is Michelle, and this is Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. Today is Monday, May 11th, and this is episode number 92. Well, a very warm hello, although the weather itself is not warm. It's mild. It's not super cold. The sun was actually out. It's behind the clouds now, but it is in the high 50s, so it's tolerable. I'm ready for it to get to be even nicer and even warmer, but you know, we are doing okay. I have a lot to share this week. I have lots of updates on all of my projects, no finished objects, but lots and lots of updates. I have some project plans. I have a couple of one new acquisition, and then some day in the life. Life section. I don't even remember what I call that. Day to day. Ooh. Yeah, it was a busy weekend. I'm not wearing any knitting today, so I think without further ado, we can head right over to my project bag and take a look at what I've got for you this week. So the first project I want to talk about today is my Imagination Quilt. This is a crochet project by Meema Makes. And as you well know by now, if you've been watching me at all, I am using an advent for it, along with some yarn from Knit Picks. I finished my last 3 squares, sort of. I'll explain in a minute. But let's take a look at them. So I have this square here, and this square here. I love this one. And the last one here. Oh dear. Can you see the problem? Right here. Oh, I finished it yesterday. I finished crocheting the sashing on, and I'm admiring it, and I'm going, wait a minute, something doesn't look right. Ah, shoot. So these 2 squares here need to flip spots. And I could leave it. I mean, it's not terrible, but let's face it, it would drive me crazy. So I am probably gonna rip the sashing out, and then I have to rip out a couple of seams and see if I can swap those squares, sew it back up, re-sash it. Probably a night's work. Maybe I'll work on that tonight. But then the squares will be all done. Obviously, as you can see, I did not weave in any of the ends. I finished knitting these yesterday, actually. I wouldn't say it was a super busy week. I had things kind of in my evenings, nothing exciting to talk about in my day-to-day section, but the only nights that I actually had available to me for yarny things were Tuesday and Thursday, so I didn't end up with a ton of knitting time, which was fine, but I really wanted to get those squares done, so I really pushed and got those done yesterday. So my goal this week is to fix that square and weave in all of the ends, block all 16 squares, photograph them, and then figure out my layout so that next week, hopefully in the week, I can sew it all together. I'm really curious how long it takes me to sew. It'll be a 4x4 because there's 16 squares. There's no, unless I do a 3x5 and do 15, it'll be 4x4, so it's gonna be a square blanket. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm really curious to see how long it takes. And I don't know if I need to budget more than a week or not. My goal, my hope is that I can get the whole thing done by the end of the month. And I think that is doable. That really should be doable, because at this point I just have the sewing and then the final border, and I know the final border, especially once I start, because I'm going to be really eager to get it done at that point, that final border is just going to fly, and that I can do that in a few days or, you know, a week tops. So that's my tentative goal on that one. I got to go let my dog in, so I will be right back. There, she's in and she's much happier. I'm sure you couldn't hear her, but I could hear her barking. It's driving me crazy. All right, next up, I want to talk about the Waffleicious Blanket. And I know last week I said this was my next priority, and it did not get the amount of work on it that I kind of had hoped to have gotten done, but see the previous conversation where I said I only had 2 nights worth of knitting stuff that I could do. So I only got, so I believe I had completed the purple, because you can see, where is it? Right here. So I only got those rows done in the white. 1, 2, 3, actually not quite 3. It's really only about 2, and there's a total of 6 of them before I move to the next color. Hopefully I'll have a little bit more time this week, especially because once I fix those squares, they get a block, and that's going to take some time. And so most of what, unless I actually start sewing, there's not a lot of active knitting stuff that will happen on the Imagination quilt. So hopefully I can really pump some of this out. I have just about 4 weeks, I think, until the baby shower. I think it is the 9th, June 9th, something along those lines, or June 7th. So just under a month. So I should be able to get this done and such. So, but this is the Waffleicious Blanket by MJ's Off the Hook Designs. I am using Yarn Bee Sweet Delight in Naked, Boot Pink, Ballet Slipper, and Plum Pudding. So, all right, let's tuck this one away. And the next project, the next 2 projects I want to talk about have been kind of hauled out of the archive. This one a little more, a deeper archive than the next one, but I pulled out my Tutti Frutti Socks, and these are socks that I started back in 2020, June of 2020, and I forgot to put a marker in when I started, but I had just barely done the orange, so all of that, most of this I got done, not the cuff, but from about here up, I got done during Bible study last week. So, and these, again, remember, I am planning to make as shorty socks or mid socks maybe, because I think shorty socks, technically I would probably be starting that heel now. I want to do maybe double what I have here before I move into the heel. Yeah, that would probably be about right. That would be my vision for what I want these to be. So the yarn, the label is really a mess because some dog that I love very dearly, who shall not be named, decided to explore this yarn not long after I got it. But it is Schuckenmeyer Regia in the Tutti Frutti color. It is a cotton yarn. I don't think there actually is anything else of interest in the label, but it is, you can see it's like totally chewed up. Anyway, it is a cotton yarn that I got from my local yarn shop just before it closed, and I thought it would be interesting to try a cotton yarn and knit a pair of socks that maybe I would wear in the summer and have some hand knit socks for summertime or spring and fall when maybe I don't want to wear wool socks. So I started them back in 2020, and then obviously they got set aside for other things that were more interesting. But I am really, really trying to work through old projects and only have those current things. So these are my new Bible study project. Now that I finished my shawl and the cowl that I was working on, I think before that, right? So I really think these are gonna fly off the needles in the next 6 weeks, by the end of June, probably sooner. These will be done. So that is this project. The next project is also pulled out of hibernation, although not so far back as those socks. but I pulled out my Musselburgh hat this weekend for my son's college graduation, and I will talk more about that in the day in the life. Why can't it day to day? Why am I struggling so much with the name of that segment today? This was the perfect project to have with me while we were up at in Orono at the college. There was a ceremony in the morning that was specifically for engineers, and then we had lunch, and then we had the actual graduation. So I probably had, all told, because the morning ceremony was about 2 hours, and then the graduation itself was about 3 hours, plus we were sitting in the auditorium for a solid 45 minutes before the graduation started. So I brought my Musselburgh. This is, I'll show you the yarn first, how's that? So this was one of the last Yarnables yarns that I got. And that is what it looks like. It is Wild Current, I believe, is the name of it. And it's by Hypnotic Yarn. And I got a lot done. So you can see my marker here. I got, what is that, 3 inches or so? Like, it was perfect because I could just knit, not have to think about it whatsoever at all, 0. So I got a lot done. This is where it's at Musselburgh, of course, Ysolda Teague. I think you are all well aware of the Musselburgh at this point. This is gonna go back in hibernation now. I really, literally only took it out for this weekend while we were up in Orono. But it is going to get tucked away again unless I have some other event that I'm going to where it will be, like, I didn't want to run out of sock knitting, and I wouldn't have run out of sock knitting, but I didn't want to hit a point where now I got to stop, I got to think about turning the heel, right? Like, I knew there was just no way I was going to knit through the whole thing. So it was perfect. The last project, I think, is my cross stitch. Because I did work on it. I actually left the needle still in it. And this is also why I didn't get as much knitting done, because the one night that I did have free for being crafty and creative, I decided I wanted to cross stitch. And so I started the hair on my son-in-law. And that's all I got done was this on that one night. But all the black up there was what I did on, I think it was Thursday night. I was working on that. So that is all of my projects for this week. I do have a project dream. Actually, it's a little bit more than a dream because I actually started swatching for something yesterday. I am very crochet heavy at the moment, unless I am working on my socks on Bible study night. So if I'm home and I want to do something other than crochet, the only other knitting project that I really have going is my soubrette. However, I have been itching to do like a t-shirt. It's May, we're headed into the warmer months, and I decided to leave my soubrette paused a little longer and knit myself a t-shirt because I can get that done probably in the next 4 to 6-ish weeks and then have it for all summer. I was afraid that if I worked on my soubrette, by the time I finished that, it would be end of June, middle of July even, because it's pretty long. And then by the time I finished a t-shirt, it would be end of the summer. So all that to say, I am swatching. So the project that I want to make is the Brooklyn Raglan Lite by Tori. I knit a Tori pattern last summer and I absolutely love it. It was this, what was the yarn called? It was the yarn that I had gotten in New York City, and then I finished it just before I went to New York City. I was able to wear it while I was in the city visiting my daughter, and I don't remember the name of it, but anyway, it's the Skyline Tee. I knit that by Tori, and I really, really enjoyed Tori's work. This is one that was in my favorites that I had queued up, and the yarn that I want to use is by Ella Ray. It is Lace Merino, and it is just aqua blue is the color. I have had this yarn. I have 2 skeins of this. I have had it for a very long time. I don't know the actual date. I might have to put it in, I'll put it in my notes for after I start this project, but I got it quite a few years ago from a friend of mine who was destashing it. I want to say, it was definitely before COVID. I want to say 2017 or 2018, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I had started a project with it. This is one of the batches of yarn that I frogged over, was it in February break or was it before February break? I think it was February break when I was kind of cleaning out and reprioritizing those projects. This is the shawl, the beaded shawl that I decided I was not going to make anymore. But when I was tearing it out, I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, I really love this color and this would make a great t-shirt. So I'm actually really, really excited. I got 920 yards, I think, which is gonna be perfect. So I swatched yesterday and I blocked it last night. I haven't even measured it, so I don't know, but here's my little, yeah, it's a baby swatch. I didn't do maybe as much as I should. It's a little, one of these sides, I think the cast on side is a little wonky. You can see it's a little wonky down there, but it does settle down up in here into something that I think is going to be a great, great gauge. So I need to measure the gauge and get a sense of, at least a rough sense of what it is. I don't mind living a little on the dangerous side. And I am probably gonna cast this on this week. I don't wanna usurp the Waffleicious blanket, but I do wanna have a knitting project on the needles for at home if I wanna do something a little different. So I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm super excited. I can't wait to get started. I do have something new on my yarn shelf that I can share. So I have been a Patreon member of Wool & Women Fibers for, I think I joined last fall, last August or September, something like that. And in the beginning of the year, they shifted, they used to send out little mini skeins once a month. And what they have decided to do at the beginning of the year was shift to quarterly, sending out a sock set. So I just got the first quarter. It's oh, what's her name? I can't remember. It's 2 sisters that are Wool & Women Fibers, and I can't remember their names. But one of them had a baby last July, I think. So I think they're still figuring out how to run a business and be a new mom and all the things. So I can be very patient. I can understand that. But anyway, my first quarter sock set just arrived. So if you are a Patreon subscriber and you don't want to see it, then I suggest you skip to the next section. But it came on Saturday, actually, while I was at graduation. I got the email that it had been delivered. So it is so pretty. I love Wool & Women Fibers yarn, but look at this. I don't even know what I'm gonna do with it, but I love, look at the little pop of pink in there. So it is called Thorn Hollow. And it's gonna be something very pretty at some point. I don't know what exactly, but something very beautiful. So that is what is new on my yarn shelf. Finally, in this week's Day to Day, yes, it's Day to Day, that's what it's called. Not a ton to share. My work week was busy. This time of year is always busy. We did 2 visits last week to our elementary schools, one on Tuesday and one on Friday. The kids did a fantastic job. My middle school kids that I brought along did a great job representing the school and answering questions and hoping to make the transition to the middle school a little less mysterious. The incoming 6th grade had lots of great questions right back, so that was always, I love this time of year. It's my favorite thing. We had the 6th grade dance on Friday night. I was not able to attend, but we did that on Friday to also kind of help to transition them. We have a parent night at the same time, so that's all part of our like onboarding, if you will, of our 6th grade. So that was good. Well, actually, that leads me to the next thing on Friday. So my daughter arrived Friday afternoon at 2. My husband picked her up and brought her home. And so we had her here for about 48 hours. It was a very quick visit, but it was wonderful. So I, instead of spending the evening with the 6th grade, stayed with my family. On Friday, we went out to dinner. My son, who was local, joined us, and we went out to dinner, and then we came home and we were playing a game. We actually didn't finish it, but that's okay. We had a great time playing it. And then we got up early on Saturday morning. We left our house at 6:15 in the morning to drive up to Orono. Again, it's about an hour and 45-minute drive up there. I was really nervous that it was going to be kind of a rainy day, because that's kind of what the forecast was implying, but it actually ended up being phenomenal. It was beautifully sunny when we left, and it stayed sunny all the way. I think it started clouding up around 1 o'clock. Graduation ceremony was at 2:30, and we went in at 1:30. It was raining when we came out, but at that point we had pretty much done everything we needed to do. So our whole time on campus and all of the things that we needed to do and moving around the campus, it was wonderful. So it was great. We arrived on campus around 8 o'clock. We were able to help my son get the last of his things out of his dorm, and he checked out. So that was all done by 8:20 or so. That was fantastic. He had an induction ceremony for, it's the Francis Crowe Society, which is an engineering society. He had that at 9 o'clock. So that was the first ceremony that we went to. I got probably not quite half of what you saw in the hat done. I got a good inch, over an inch, maybe an inch and a half done during that, which was about 2 hours long. And then they fed us lunch. So we walked over to one of the dining halls, and they had a lunch set up for us. It was basic chicken and potatoes and string beans and whatnot, but it was good, and we didn't have to get it, like, we didn't have to think about what we're gonna do for lunch, so that was fantastic. And then we had about an hour or so after we finished eating where he did not need to report, so we walked around the campus. Again, the sun was shining. We had him put on his cap and gown. We took some pictures. I can pop a few in here, and just kind of were able to show the engineering building to my daughter. She could see the project that we went and saw last week. We actually got a great picture of him in his cap and gown, you know, holding that project. So that was fun. And then we went into the graduation ceremony, and it was 3 hours. It's only half of the school or so. It was 3 different schools. So it was the College of Engineering and Computing, the College of Liberal Arts, and the College of Education, whatever that major is. So those three colleges. So it was half. It was probably about 750 students, I think, is what we decided. And it was great. And then it was hard getting off campus. That was the one downfall, I guess, at that point. Everyone was leaving, and so it just took a while. We ended up stopping in Waterville on our way home, and we had dinner together, but it was like 7:30 at that point. It was pretty late, so we did not get home until 9:45 on Saturday, which, you know, again, made it a very long day, but it was a fantastic day. I am so incredibly proud of my son and all that he has accomplished. And then yesterday was Mother's Day, so I dropped my daughter off at the bus station locally before heading off to church. And she caught a bus down to Portland, and then from Portland down to back down to New York City. And when we got home, I sat in my chair for pretty much the rest of the day. Actually, I took a nap because I was a little tired at that point, but that's how I spent my Mother's Day, was catching up. So it was wonderful. But I did. After I took my nap, I worked on those squares. So it was good. It was really, really great. It was so nice to have my kids, all 3 of my kids, around for Mother's Day weekend. That doesn't happen too much anymore since my daughter's out of state. And I don't know when it's going to happen again at this point. So that was not lost on me. So that, I believe, is everything that I have for today. So I thank you so very much for watching. I will have links down below in the show notes for all of the things that I have talked about. If you enjoyed the podcast, do hit that little like button and the little subscribe button so you know when I post something new. You can certainly leave me a comment in the notes down below, or in the comment section down below. I love to hear from you, and it does help to raise the visibility of the podcast within YouTube. I am Knittin' Michelle, KNITTINMICHELLE, on Ravelry and Instagram, although I'm not terribly good at posting on Instagram. I do fully admit that. You could also send me an email at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. With that, I hope you have a fantastic week and happy knitting.